I said, you my right, yeah, you my right hand. Nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I'd be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I'd be with?
We'll start it off with just going over what was your recording setup, what was the room like, all of that, just so we could understand the recording side of it.
Believe it or not, I recorded this in my apartment room bedroom. Pretty much, I got the 118 Focusrite.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's my I use Pro Tools, of course, and Logic actually. So like, I usually like, I don't know why, I like my setup in Logic when it comes to like recording my vocals and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I just take everything and then bring it to Pro Tools. I like mixing in Pro Tools for some reason.
Okay.
That's how I usually do my when I do my own music.
Mm-hmm.
Speakers wise, I got some JBL monitors. I mean, they do the job where I'm at. Of course, I got iMac. That's the JBLs, you know. And then, of course, I got the Ashton.
Okay.
You know, with just I ain't got no real room acoustics. I just moved into my apartment, so all the stuff I did have set up, you know what I mean? I had to take down, and I ain't never put it back up yet. So pretty much that's what I got.
All right, and then for that recording setup where you just were by the mic, is that where you usually leave it?
No, I actually bring it closer to me, and like I got like some blankets. I'll probably like try to remove some of that room stuff out. But this particular song, all I did was use what I had. You know what I mean? And so that's what I used. Pretty much, I just pulled it to me and picked the best part of the room that I felt like that wasn't picking up a lot of the room, because that mic is real high. It catch everything.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's how I was with that one. But yeah, that was the only setup I really had for that. For this song in particular.
Yeah, that's good that you're like trying to find like the best spot in the room, because a lot of people, they'll just put it up and just like deal with it even if there's an issue. But like moving around the room is very smart.
Yeah, because I'm starting to train my ears more and more. So like I get to hear stuff like, I don't like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the recording sounds pretty good. There was like a little bit of a room reverb in there, which is why I'm using this like Deverb plugin on here. But it wasn't bad. Like I mostly noticed it on certain words where like there's a little space in there, and then you kind of hear the trail of the room.
Right.
Other than that, it wasn't bad. So once it's blended in with like I have a couple reverbs set up here. Once it was blended in with all that, you can't really tell that much. Here's just the original to the verse chain. So here's the vocal.
Nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you.
So that is running through my mastering chain, but as an example, that's what the original sounded like. And then here is the new one.
Nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say
all right. So
yeah, you can hear the difference.
Yeah, like it's less mid-range and more like I guess body to it. I was doing some comparisons to like other songs and stuff, and I think this matches a little bit more of that commercial sound, having a little bit more body in the vocal. So that's what I ended up going with. And then what I wanted to do was just like build the chain around the problems. So the first thing I noticed was like there's little tiny like mouth clicks and pops here and there. It's not bad, but every now and then there are some. So I love using this RX mouth declick by Isotope, and that just cleans up any of those little sounds. That was the first step. And then I wanted to just go in with the EQ, knowing that there was that mid-range in there that I wanted to focus on. So I really did a lot of dipping right here in the mid-range and even on the sides of it as well. So just a bit of a filter on the bottom and then cutting this whole midsection. So if we just take all of this off, and I'll take off my mastering chain too, because that's going to give it a certain sound.
Okay.
All right, so here's without the EQ.
Nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who...
So it just like kind of sounds smoother and less harsh in the middle. So I think that was something that fit your vocals good, was dipping out there. And then there's a little bit of
Okay.
sibilance going on, so I wanted to take care of that. So I used the de-esser there.
Right hand, nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want.
So see, it's just like, it only comes in when an S pops through. And then, so here it is with some compression added.
Right hand, nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe.
That's
Boo.
before.
If it wasn't for you, who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I
All right, so the good thing about the compression is it's making it a little bit more tamed. So it's taking those tops and bringing it down, and then it brings the whole thing
Yeah.
up. But the bad thing is now it's bringing the room reverb back out. And
Right.
depending on the settings of the compressor, especially the release, it's going to really make the room reverb stand
Determined,
out.
yep.
Yeah, so like if you do a fast release, that room reverb is now like really coming out. But I did a medium release here, and then because I'm starting to notice, like especially like right around here,
who know what I be. If it wasn't
right when
Yeah,
you
I hear it
said,
too, yeah.
right on that word I, you hear it. So
Yeah, I heard
that's
it.
why I wanted to put this in there, and this is taming it just a bit.
who know
So
what I
what is that, a
be. If
reverb?
This is a D verb, so it's
Oh, a
taking reverb.
deverb.
Yeah, it's taking reverb out of the recording.
Oh, I need that.
Yeah, yeah. It comes in handy. Like this one, it's you got to be careful with it though, because if you go too much with it, like right now I'm on 10. If I go up here,
who know what I be. If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with.
it's like making the vocals like this. It's like choppy.
Yeah, flutter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So like you want to make sure you don't overdo it on that to take out reverb. So I just do it like halfway on this song, and it kind of reduces that reverb in the room, but it also isn't like affecting those vocals.
Okay.
All right, so here's before, and then we'll listen to it after, just on that one part on the word I.
Who know what I be. If it was who know what I be. If it wasn't
All right, so it's a lot cleaner, but it's still
Yeah.
there, but it's a lot cleaner. So I'm liking that. And then I wanted to give it a bit of like a crispy sound because I think these vocals would sound good with some like crispiness to them. So I always try out this exciter on vocals. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but this one I think it does.
who know what I be. If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with. Them hoes don't love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't
All right, so it just
Yeah.
like adds a little bit of sheen to the top end.
Yeah, just enough for you could, yeah.
Yeah. And then
I got you.
I did one more EQ because there was just a part in the vocal on the lower end that just was bothering me. So here's without it, and then I'll put it in.
who know what I be. If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with. Them hoes don't love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can.
All right, not a huge difference, but as I was listening, it just felt like there's a little bit of a buildup at 320 hertz. So
Right.
that got put
So
on there.
I got a question.
Yeah.
Okay, so I ain't tell you, but I'm actually in school right now
Mhm.
and, for audio production.
Okay.
Get my bachelor's. I go to Full Sail University. So like of course I'm learning what they teaching me too. But
Mhm.
from experience, how do you feel is the best way to find like those bad frequencies, or your ears already trained to like automatically know like, all right, around this area is where I'm hearing this at.
Yeah, I mean, it's a mixture of both. Like doing it over and over and over, like you eventually like, oh, like it's sounding nasally, and I know nasally sounds are usually around like 1K. So like I could then target that area. If it sounds muddy, I'm gonna know it's like in this like 200, 300 range. But if you don't have like that, like I guess the experience of like listening for those things, then you could just do two different things. There's either, let me just show you. So say I grab one of these bands here and I could hit this little like headphone thing. What it's going to do is mute out or solo out just these frequencies. So I could sweep through and listen to just the frequencies that are in this little box.
Right.
And then that makes it to where it's like, okay, yeah, that's what I was hearing that was bothering me.
Do you boost all the way so you can hear? Or
That's
do
the
you just boost a
second
little?
way. That so like say if you don't want to do it this way where you're just listening to that specific band, you could do a boost and then sweep. That's another way. That's the way I used to do it, but now I do it like this. And
Right.
yeah, so you could just really hear it. Like for example, I'll do it right here.
Who know what I be. If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with. Them hoes don't love you, I believe you.
So right when I get there, you hear that like tone that's like building up. So that's what I
it's
wanted
like
to
real,
dip.
thickish.
Yeah, and like say for example, if I wanted to do the boost instead, I could do that.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them all done love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend.
So it still sounds off right there. But I do prefer just doing that listen to section. It just, for me, it's not boosting or reducing anything. It's just simply listening to that section. And then I could be like, yes, that's what I was hearing. So,
Right.
all right. So that's how I go about EQ. But when it comes to like the first EQ, for example, this one, I just like, right when I heard the vocals, I was like, okay, it sounds like there's too much mid-range in the vocals. So I knew I was going to be cleaning up somewhere in this region. And then I went through and focused on this section. So no matter what, I always filter off the bottom end here. And that's just to get rid of any rumble that might have been in the recording or in the room or whatever. And then the rest of it is just finding what's wrong. And I do that same approach. Like I listen and then I'm like, okay, I know it's going to be in this area. And then I grab this and I sweep around and I find it and I dip it. So that's how my approach.
All right.
All right. So now I'm on multiband compression. I have been using this a little bit more often. Sometimes I'll use it just on the mix bus and sometimes I'll use it on the vocals themselves. And it could just give a vocal a lot smoother sound. So you're just really controlling every aspect of the vocal with this one. So all I'm doing is I created 4 different bands, one for the lows, the low mids, the mids, and then the highs. So I'm just going to grab a band. I set it to a fast attack, fast release. I just want it to happen right away and let go right away. So I don't want it to be hanging out there. And it's just dipping down any peaks. So when I press play here, you'll see what it's doing. And I'm trying to make it to where I'm boosting up the gain where it's being brought down. So if it's going back down to this middle line, then that means I'm not actually adding anything extra. I'm just making up the gain right here and then so on. So I'll just press play so you hear it.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them all done love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it.
All right, so here's a little before and after. So I'll start with it off and then I'll flip it on and off again.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them all done love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't let them bitches tell you that they love you. Better use a rubber one, want that Usher part 2. Can't.
All right, so it sounds like when you take it away, like your vocals just lose a little bit of life. But when you put it back, they sound a little bit more, I don't know, like it has more life to it. So that's what I like multiband compression for. And then I just felt
that's one thing I'm still working on right now, learning how to use multiband compression.
Yeah. It's a great tool to use on vocals or the entire mix bus or anything. It's just a really cool tool. And then I jump into one more thing because I felt like it sounded good, but it needed just a boost up in that top end. I just wanted a little bit more clarity out of it.
If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them all done love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't let them bitches tell you that they love you. Better use a rubber, want that Usher.
So that just brings that top end clarity, which kind of takes away from that mid range that was still in there a little bit and just like pushes it to the top end. It just sounds a little bit more open and natural. So that's right there. Let's do the reverb now. So the first reverb I added is R-verb. I wanted to do a shorter reverb time on this one and some pre-delay in there so you get the natural vocal coming in for 15 milliseconds first. And then it hits with the reverb, which is just shorter, and it's tucked in there. Let's see, minus 17.9.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them all done love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see.
And reverb's going to come down to preference. Like some people like their vocals super dry, and then some people like it with a lot of reverb. So it's going to come down to what you prefer. But I ended up going with that one there. And then I felt like it sounded like it had some space to it, but it didn't sound big enough. So I wanted to add another reverb on here. On this one, I'm using Seventh Heaven, and this is a longer reverb. It's 2.65 seconds on the reverb time, and then the pre-delay is just 5 milliseconds on this one. And then I'm also spreading out this reverb even farther. So I'm using an S1 imager just to push it a little bit further. And,
Okay, I see what you did. Yeah.
and then this one's tucked way, way down, so at minus 28 dB.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them hoes don't love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it.
Okay, so that was the whole vocal chain, and then I'll put it in with the beat.
Who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them hoes don't love you, I believe you. When I see it, she say, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't let them bitches tell you.
Okay, so that was the first process of just getting the vocals to sit in there. I also messed with the beat, and I'm using Masterdesk by Brainworks. And this plugin I used on my master, and I also like it on 2-track beats every now and then just to like make them sound better. But
Right.
so here it is without the Masterdesk. And now with.
Yeah.
All right, so it takes that like muffled sound and brightens it up a bit, and then
Brighten it up. Yeah.
yeah, and then it gives a little bit more of a stereo width as well. So
So how do you usually go about, like, if you got masking problems with your 2 tracks with your vocals? Do you like usually like just cut out where the range of the vocals sit at in the
sometimes, not always though. Like I usually try to push things out farther, and that usually works. Like for example, right here, it has an MS section, so I'm able to like make everything from 129 hertz down mono, and then everything else I'm enhancing the stereo image and spreading it wider. So that's giving me a bit more width, which sometimes
crazy. I
gives
like
a little sometimes it gives a little bit more room for the vocals like that. Sometimes it doesn't. It just depends on the beat. But this one, I didn't have any EQ or anything like that to make room for vocals. On the master, you had this X noise plugin on here, and
yeah.
it was giving it was like really dampening all of the highs and everything like that. So I ended up taking it off.
Okay.
And then the same with the linear phase multiband. It was kind of dipping out some of the clarity right here and down here as well. So
Yeah, I'm looking at it on my computer too. I'm actually noticing that now. Yeah.
yeah, so I ended up muting that one out as well. And then I just did my own mastering chain here. And what I ended up going with was the Masterdesk. This is like my new favorite plugin. And they actually have a really good sell right now on it. So if anybody...
What it costing right now?
It's $49.99 right now, but they sent out $25 coupon codes to their email subscribers, so you could get it for super cheap. But it's a really... I like it. So like here it is. I'll just bypass it and then turn it on and then explain it. So
Right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them hoes don't love you.
so it's just like super clear after. So taking this foundation down -2, it gives it more of a bright sound. And then I like that it automatically, like as you push the volume up, you could get more gain reduction on the compression here. There's like a little EQ section, so I'm getting some clarity on it. And then I'm also doing the mono maker and the stereo enhancing, and I'm really spreading things out on the sides here. So this just like gives things a bigger sound. And then to make things even more pushed up, like in the listener's face, it's saturation here. So here's a little before and after.
Right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them hoes.
All right, so just getting a bit... It sounds louder, but it's not actually louder. There's no peak difference. It's just that like compressed type of loudness. And then I'm using bass room for some low frequency EQ, and I'm just taming a little bit, 1 dB minus at 160 to 320, and then 80 to 160, just about half a dB of a difference here. So here's a little before and after.
Right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I be with? Them hoes.
just gives a little bit more clarity in the vocal range on that low end, and it just comes through a bit better.
Okay.
All right, and then last thing is the limiter, and this is where all of our levels coming in, and I did +6 on here, and then we could see what the output is, or the gain reduction.
Right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I'd be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I'll be with? Them more don't love you, I believe it when I see it. She said, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't let them bitches tell you.
All right, so we're getting like really loud, but it's not getting a lot of gain reduction. So just the way the beat was mixed made it pretty easy to get this extremely loud and compete with everything else out there.
Okay.
All right, so that's pretty much everything that I did throughout the whole mix. I applied the same thing to the hook. So instead of just remixing the hook, I just wanted to see if it would sound good running through the same chain. So if I switch it back over, I'll just do a quick comparison. So here it is with the original mix, and then as it's playing, I'll switch it over to the new mix.
All right.
Without you, it just ain't right. Without you by my side, everything going left, girl, cause you are my ride. I can't imagine life without you, it just ain't right. Without you by my side, everything going left, girl, cause you are my ride.
All right, so it's just a little bit fuller sounding vocal.
Yeah, it's full, way more full. Yeah.
All right, so that's the whole thing. That's everything I did in the mix. If you have any questions about it, or
What EQ did you boost any EQs, if any?
I did boost on this EQ. So I did that.
The 10K.
Yeah, at 10K. So
Yeah.
I tend to always cut until the very end. If I need clarity, then I'll boost. So my first EQ is always cutting. My second EQ is cutting. And then I finally needed some boost on the top end. So that's when I do the boost.
So from your experience, you don't always have to boost them.
Yeah, sometimes I'll not do any boosting at all because the more lows you cut, like say a vocal has a lot of mud or like a lot of buildup in the low end, the more you cut that, the more the vocals sound bright, even though you never boosted the top end. So it's just like, if you take it like that, it's going to end up going like that. That's just how it works.
Saying, yeah.
Yeah.
But other than that, the overall mix was nice, man. I didn't even hit the whole song yet, and I was like, all right, yeah.
Yeah.
It's more cleaner, it's more smoother. You did everything that I expected you to do anyway. You know what I mean?
Yeah, dope. I guess one last thing, I just want to, just for people who will be watching this, I'm going to put the back and forth between the mix that you sent, the MP3, which I think the MP3 that you sent, was that from Logic, or was that after you
That was from Logic. It was from Logic.
Okay, so that one sounded better to me than the one that got transferred to Pro Tools. I'm guessing like how that whole like committing thing happened when it came over, little things like that happen. So I think the mix that you originally sent sounded better. So I want to compare back and forth to that just so you could hear the difference. Especially when I post the video, you'll be able to hear it in the full quality compared to the headphones and stuff. So,
Okay.
All right, let's see. I already matched it. So I'm turning up your mix 5 decibels to get closer to mine, just so there's no big volume difference. It's more just like tonality.
Sick, you my right, yeah, you my right hand. Nothing feel better than when you're right here. Loving you cause you always right there when I need you. They say what they want, shit, you know who I believe, boo. If it wasn't for you, who know what I'd be? If it wasn't for you, who know who I'll be with? Who don't love you, I believe it when I see it. She said, trust me, friend, I'm a woman, I can see it. Don't let them bitches tell you that they love you. Better use a rubber, want that Usher part 2. Can't go, keep slipping, better look out for the sign. If I'm rich, y'all can see it in. Shit, he was blind. Don't think that I would choose another.
Okay, so just wanted to do a little back and forth so we could hear like what changed throughout the mix.
Again, I'm A1 the Youngin. I just released the EP called Now or Never on all platforms. Go ahead, check it out. Called Now or Never. A1 the Youngin.
Send me a link. I'll put it in the description so everybody watching could go ahead and click on that and check out your music. Thank you guys for making it all the way through the video. If you made it this far, I want to give you something. I have a link down below in the description that will take you over to this page right here that you see on your screen. This is my freebie guides that you could pick up. You can pick them all up if you want, or just one. It's up to you. The first one's an optimal audio levels guide. It's a whole checklist on what levels to be recording, mixing, and mastering at, with explanations and everything like that. So it's a really cool reference guide that could just come in handy when you're in a session. There's also the template, the 2020 Raw Technique Studios template. It's a Pro Tools template. So if you want to use what I use, then you can go ahead and pick that up. And the very last thing is understanding EQ and frequencies. And this really just goes in depth on EQ and breaking down the different types of EQs there are and all kinds of different stuff. So definitely recommend checking out that course if you haven't done so already. So go ahead and click that link down below in the description. And as always, I appreciate you watching through these videos, and hopefully you're learning something. So thank you again, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.